A much anticipated game week of football. Welcome to the All Balls channel, guys. This is a brand new segment, and we're going to try to do it more often. Now, considering the end of the transfer window, the international break, lots of ins and outs, the FPL is a major concern for most of the guys around the country and the world. And to talk about that, I have with me Anshuman. Anshuman, how's it going?
It's going good. It's finally
And
good to have football back after 10 days.
yeah, I know, right? But there's also bad news that in 4 weeks there's another international break, but we're going to leave that for another day. Now, first tell me something about your page, what you do, in regards to FPL.
So for whoever does not know, I have a page on FPL. It's called FPL Tips underscore underscore, and it's on Instagram. So we are one of the largest functioning bodies in India regarding to FPL. And yeah, we post daily content everything regarding FPL. So in case you need FPL content and help, we are there.
I mean, personally, I need a lot, but we're going to get into the show. And for all our viewers, now, Anshuman, the biggest question of this transfer window, which is going to affect everybody. And yes, I'm not going to keep it for the middle. I'm going to start off with it. CR7 12.5 million is forcing a lot of players to use their wild card. Is that the right move?
Using your wildcard, maybe not. Getting him in, yes, of course.
But at 12.5, I mean, we're not even sure if, knowing the inconsistency Ole shows in his selection, if he's going to start. Now, I know it's a big name and stuff like that, but is he going to start?
Obviously that's up to Ole, and he'll probably give some hints in this press conference. But if it was an away game, I would be slightly doubtful. But again, it's at Old Trafford. They've sold 180 million worth of jerseys till now. Even it's Ronaldo after all. If it was some other player, maybe Sancho or maybe let's even Haaland, I would be like dicey that he might not start. But it's Ronaldo. His homecoming, I don't see him starting off the bench, to be honest.
And I think if I'm not mistaken, he had his first hat trick versus Newcastle. So ideal scenario for him to come into the starting lineup. But
Yeah.
at 12.5, worth it because I have this philosophy that, even with the other players, if it's 12.5 for a Van Persie at that time, even a Rooney in the middle, you need at least 10 points a week if you're putting in that much budget. Now, is that true? Or you think with the points he's going to accumulate over the course of the season, it's worth the buy?
I think it is as simple as this, that if you can captain a 12.5 million player or 12 million player, you should, then it is worth it. So basically, any premium player you have, you should be able to captain him. If you can't, then it's not worth it.
Okay, so enough of Cristiano. We're going to now come to the wild card. First of all, now considering the fact that there are many Brazilians missing this game week, injuries to Son, Lukaku, doubtful, probably not doubtful. News still out on that. One important question is, like you mentioned even in the beginning, is the wild card worth it so early in the season? Because there are a lot of changes happening.
First of all, regarding injuries, Lukaku is fine, so he'll definitely play, in my opinion. Son, I think, irrespective of the injury, you should be moving away from him for two reasons: that his fixtures are not that great in the next three. Also, he doesn't have a great record against Crystal Palace. He scored like once in the last 6 or 7 appearances against Crystal Palace and no assist. So it doesn't look like the game for him. Plus the injury. And regarding wildcard, most wildcards that I've seen so far, I've seen like a tons of wildcard on my channel at the moment, and their current team and wildcard team is not that different. You still have Salah, you still are having Antonio, most people have DCL, you still have Trent, you're still going with Shaw, you're still going with Sanchez. Greenwood is a part of most drafts. Ben Rama is a part of most drafts. So out of your core 11, you're changing maybe a 3 or 4 players at max, I think. So it's not worth wildcarding. You can still do that with the -4, even with the -8 if required, largely. But I think if you can save it, it's better because the fixtures that turn around, because you still have to make the same amount of changes in game week 7 because of the fixtures turning around for City, Chelsea, Liverpool. They just get too good to ignore. I mean, Chelsea have 5 fixtures against teams who are in the bottom 5-6 team at the moment. So you want Chelsea, like at least 2 or 3 Chelsea players that you want a double City attack or a defense. So I think it's best to wildcard then later on. And there's another international break. So this what happened this time. The same thing is going to happen again.
Okay, no, because most of I've asked questions around, and most of the feedback I've got is that okay, like I said, this whole Brazilian thing that was going on. And I think earlier during the international week, I read on your page that Lukaku had a niggle and,
Yeah.
he'll probably was 75%, and a lot of talk going on. A lot of players coming in. Again, West Ham. First 2 games, 3 games, lots of goals. Great. Is it going to continue? Worth having Benrahma and Antonio. But, we'll come to that when we come to the attacking side of now the defensive side. You spoke about Sanchez. He seems to be, the best pick as a goalkeeper for everybody. For me, and I think I've read on your page as well, it's either a 2 or a 6 with him.
Yeah.
There's no in between. So with his price, yes, he's worth it. But along the course of the season, shouldn't there be like one big name goalkeeper over there? Considering also the fact that Allison and Edison will miss this game week.
So I'll touch upon Allison and Edison. First of all, there are 6 million players. So they won't offer you bonus points. First of all, they will never get you bonus points. In very rare occasions, maybe a penalty save or it's a very tight game. Because Salah, Trent, Sterling, Kevin De Bruyne, all these players will hog up the bonus points. They score a lot of goals. So there's no bonus point there. Yes, they do keep a lot of clean sheets, but if there's like a couple of more players who are keeping 2 or 3 clean sheets less, like if Pope had the same amount of clean sheets last year, if Martinez has the same amount of clean sheet last year as Edison, maybe one less. You want those players. You want that 4.5 million keeper who can get you enough points for his value. So that at 6 million, you're buying a defender who has goal threat. Maybe let's say a Van Dijk at 6.56. He has legit goal threat. So it's not only clean sheet. Clean sheet even, he's providing you the clean sheet cover, but he's providing you goals, which is extra. I think at 4, you should stick to a 4.5 keeper. And regarding Sanchez, I think he's a decent pick, but I think Raya is the guy who will get you those 10 pointers. I mean, Brentford look like a team who will go in against a City or a Liverpool or maybe a Chelsea, Tottenham, who can grind that 0-0, who can grind that 1-0, which is required for a keeper's 10 pointer. I think that's why Raya.
I mean, I saw that on your, one of your posts as well. And Brentford is still unbeaten. So not a bad option, considering now you will have to bring in 2 Premier players and, you'll have to save budget in the other aspects. So not everybody will probably be able to afford a Trent Alexander-Arnold and a Luke Shaw and probably a Ruben Diaz or a Cancelo in the same team.
Yeah.
Now coming to the defense, and again, first question we have from Mustafa Hassan, who says Cancelo or Diaz. Now, considering their fixtures, do you recommend any of them?
I think City and Chelsea are 2 teams which are fixture-proof in defense terms because their defensive numbers are too insane. So they can keep a clean sheet against any team in the league. They're the best 2 defenses in the league by far. When it comes to Cancelo or Diaz, I think Diaz, because he starts for sure. With Cancelo, it's a risk. I mean, yes, and also the thing that he's putting up numbers, he's never converted them a lot. Even last year, I think he had one goal, 1 odd assist. I mean, in one game week where he had 10 plus score. So if you're going for a consistent player who's getting you 6 points every week, I think it's fine with Diaz.
I think the Cancelo one was against Newcastle where Ferran Torres got a hat-trick towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
One of his shots came off the post. I know because he was my captain that time. But now for the other picks, a Trent Alexander-Arnold at 7 odd, a Luke Shaw at 5.1 or 5.2, if I'm not mistaken, who's kept only 1 clean sheet in 3 games. Now, with Varane coming in, that Wolves game, of course, dicey for United. Now, but then again, United seem like they have the better fixtures in attack and in defense. Now, we'll talk about attack, but should, guys stick to a Trent Alexander-Arnold for consistency or, seeing how Luke Shaw's gone over the summer and now he's starting to accumulate the points also towards the end of last season. Does that give you an option to save that 2 million over there and then probably invest it somewhere else?
I think it's simple. With Liverpool, you have to have one of their 7.5 million players. So it's either Jota at particular time or Trent. Preferably Trent because he's going to play the entire season. Jota, it's always going to be patches. So you have to have that player because they're providing you value that no other player in the league is. So I think it's not a comparison between Trent and Shaw. They're 2 different players. And also Trent lately has been playing way too inside. So what Elliott does in the game is that he's taking up the wings a lot more. So Salah is cutting inside. Trent is also cutting inside. He's virtually playing as a right midfielder who's way up the pitch and he's taking touches inside the box. And even the Mane pass, he was just behind him. He could have taken the shot himself. So I think Trent is a must on wildcard, especially if you're going there.
So it's worth that money. Now, before, I come to Chelsea, my question was, Chelsea, you have to pick one defender. Now, Reece James, we all saw what happened in the last game. But is there another defender who will give you those many points? Yes, Alonso, but Chilwell, Alonso, do you think Tuchel settled on Alonso? Or is there a better Chelsea defender at a better price you can keep in your team, for the rest of the season and know he will start and give you those points?
I think Rudiger is the guy he'll give you 2 or 3 odd goals in the entire season, but he'll give you clean sheet points and he'll start all games without doubt. And I think Reece James, it's a tough call on wildcard, obviously, for the people on wildcard. So you can go with Shaw. This is where Shaw picks in. You can keep Shaw for the next 3 and then remove him because United's fixture do turn around at 7. So you can use Shaw as a placeholder for Reece James and then get Reece James in 7. I think that's ideal. Keeping in mind that Shaw has 3 good fixtures, Ronaldo is back. He'll put in United will try to put in more crosses inside the box and everything. So that could be an optimal strategy, in my opinion.
So you're saying for the long run, Reece James over Luke Shaw for that price?
No, you'll have to switch because again, if you look at United's fixture from 14 to 25, it's just a sea of green. There's no big team in that 10 odd fixtures. That's probably the time you go to Shaw again.
And, speaking of Chelsea defenders, one who's gone the other way, which is Zuma.
Yeah.
Now, is he going to start? Because he's probably better than all the other defenders that West Ham had. Able to cope, will he not be able to cope? Like how Varane came straight in the second game. So is that also worth a buy because West Ham look like they're on fire?
So yes, he will come into the lineup. I expect him to start this weekend as well. That is because West Ham were already pushing the deal to happen before Crystal Palace so that they could play he could play Crystal Palace. He's probably looks like the player who'll start. Whether you should buy Crystal Palace or not, West Ham players or not, I wouldn't go there, especially on wildcard. If you have someone like a Kufal, maybe a Cresswell, you hold. Otherwise, I wouldn't because they haven't put up numbers. So they've been very leaky inside the box as well. If you see, even against Crystal Palace, both the goals were very cheaply conceded, even against Newcastle. So they haven't been strong defensively. Their attack is what you want to invest right now.
Before we move into midfield, a couple of low budget options in defense that you think would work, which managers could get in to probably fill the void in attack to save that budget.
I think I absolutely love Livramento from Southampton. He's there. He will get the minutes. He might even eventually be pushed up as a right midfielder with the 4-4-2 system Southampton deploy. So I think Livramento is another player you want to look at that price. Around that you have Duffy, but again I'm not sure how long will Duffy continue to play. And then you have Williams, who will also get a lot of game time at Norwich.
Okay, so that concludes defense. Now coming into midfield and the biggest question, which I put up on the post. Bruno out, Ronaldo in. Because, we all know who's going to be on penalty duties. And is it worth the risk? Actually, I had a second thought about this. Keeping Bruno and Ronaldo. Because that eats up your budget big time. Now, is that a good move?
Keeping both makes no sense because then you are also stuck with Salah, which is a must-have. I can't imagine a team without Salah, to be honest. So you can't keep 3 premiums. It will take up a lot of your budget, and your midfield will essentially remain very weak. So maybe a Bruno plus a Greenwood or Ronaldo plus Greenwood for the time being. Whether to take Bruno or not is completely up to you. If you can get Ronaldo for a -4, maybe a free transfer, I would encourage because it looks like the fixture for Ronaldo, right? But personally, for in my team, I have Son, I have to remove him, and I'm not inclined. If I have to take Ronaldo, I'll have to take a -8 or a wild card. So I'm not really very inclined at this situation. I have to go Ronaldo. I don't think there's a desperate need to get him right away. Even with all the hype, I know he's gonna perform. He's the spotlight of the game. Everyone, and he likes that thing. He will do the extra effort to in the first game. It's gonna happen. It's Ronaldo after all. But I think you'll have to make your own piece. You'll have to decide for yourself. So if you can get him, it's a great option because you can captain him now and game week 6. Otherwise, then you're stuck with Bruno. Probably want to captain him or go to someone like a Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
It's funny how cruel this footballing world is, where everyone had to go for Bruno, including Liverpool fans, Chelsea fans, and now United fans are throwing Bruno out because, there's a better option. But now, again, staying with United, is a Greenwood-Ronaldo combination, good enough, because their style of play will change. Will Greenwood get as many opportunities? Because he used to drift in, use that central position to get his goals. But now Ronaldo's not moving from there if he starts. And even if it's not Ronaldo, probably a Cavani as backup if he decides to rest Ronaldo, which is, at a later stage. But does it make sense to have now two United attackers? Or you stick with Greenwood, save the budget, look how Ronaldo goes along, and probably have a Lukaku in there who will also, will get you goals.
I think you start with two United assets for sure. The hype is there. They've been playing decent. And it's a dressing room thing now with Ronaldo back, because everyone literally is a Ronaldo fan, whether Bruno, Greenwood, Lingard, Sancho, Rashford, everyone. So the performance will slightly go up. Hopefully, we're hoping it. And I think Greenwood is decent. He'll get the minutes required for the next 4 fixtures. And then when Rashford comes in back, then is when the rotation starts. So you probably move off then. Till then, I think it's a safe bet. Yes, he's going to tactically. Yes, he might drift wide. They might change the system. They might ask him to stay inside the box around and let Bruno do the right wing part. But that depends on the in-game tactics. I think against Newcastle, it's very likely he drifts wide because Newcastle will set a deep block. But again, it depends on the team.
Okay, and coming to option number 2 in the top cost category, which is either Mo Salah or, if you want to take a risk, then Mane. And also, considering the fact that Firmino is out, Firmino is not going to start this game. Jota is an option to save budget. Now, all three of them are capable of getting the goals. But is it, is it that mindset that, okay, it's Salah, it's not that you want Salah, but it's a situation where you can't afford not to have him.
It is kind of a situation for 2 reasons. It's Salah, and if he fires, he fires. I mean, he'll get an odd penalty. He'll score that penalty. He doesn't miss penalties. He'll get 1 assist or an odd goal. He gets the bonus point as well. So that factor is always going to be there with Salah. And that he in terms of numbers, he puts out the best numbers anybody does in the league. So and it's not like one season. He's been doing that for the last 3 seasons. I think Salah is a must. Second reason is you are likely to captain Salah and feel safe about it. With Jota, I know he can score goals. He can even outscore Salah in a particular game, like he did against Burnley. Salah did not score, but Jota did. It did suit him as the game, but you're not going to captain Jota very often. Salah, with the next 3 fixtures are Leeds, Crystal Palace at home, and Brentford away. You're more likely to captain Salah than you're going to captain Jota in those games. So that's something that plays into my factor as well.
And you're definitely not in favor of Mane because you've not mentioned him even once.
He does put up numbers. Great, 5 shots inside the box, 3 big chances, but doesn't help. He's not converting them as of now, and that Jota hogs up more chances when he's playing central, and then penalties are to Salah. So it really diminishes. And at what value are you getting at 11.5? Nothing, absolutely. So it's not an option to me.
And one of the questions I personally had, now I was considering, Benrahma and Antonio at a point of time. But me being me, I have this habit of, spreading it out across teams. I like not to have too many players from one team. Now the question comes up it's either Benrahma or Nikola Vlasic for West Ham. Because Vlasic has scored during the international break. He's a consistent player. He's a good player. Now he comes in. Do you sacrifice Benrahma because, probably Vlasic? You have Antonio on top. But then again, in this whole scenario, you said not to invest in too many West Ham players as of now. So would you go with midfielder or would you go with attacker?
To correct, I said, I think don't invest in the defenders. The attack is the one to invest. And I already have a double up from Antonio and Benrahma already. It's been there because they have been performing ultimately. Why not? As far as West Ham is concerned, Vlasic will play the number 10 role as far as I've known and see him. So Benrahma is safe in terms of rotation, in terms of minutes. He'll get subbed off eventually 80, 70 like he's been, but he'll start the games at least. And the 4 fixtures ahead are decent in terms of Benrahma, so you can hold on to him. And the best part if you have him is it's best to hold because then you can easily switch him off to Rafinha, he has a great run of fixtures coming up as well. So I think it's a hold. And Antonio is a must. We shouldn't discuss a lot about it because he is just performing so good. I mean, he's putting up stats which nobody is in the league. 9 involvements in 3 games. He scored in all of them. He's got double-digit haul in all of the games. I think it's a no-brainer, to be honest.
Okay, and we have a question from Mustafa Hassan, who before the question, I'll tell you, also says that I'm a huge fan of Anshuman. And he has asked you for the best 4.5 million midfielder.
I think Allen, because he'll get game time. He'll get those odd clean sheets that Everton will keep. And he's making those good through balls on counter. So if like someone like he did get the assist for Demari Gray, he can get those odd assists at times and or an out of the box goal eventually. But it's a safe pick and he's starting for sure. If you don't want to risk it with the injury he has, I think Gilmore is the guy. I absolutely like him at Norwich. He's playing good football. He might not get you the assist, but he'll definitely play, and he's not that very injury prone, so he'll be good enough.
And the next question is from Scott, what you just spoke about, that is Demari Gray a good buy?
I like you said that I have a habit of spreading my team, so that I have like for every game I look out having players that I can even watch the game and it doesn't feel bad. And I was considering Gray for the same reason if I had to bring in Ronaldo. He does not cover Everton completely. He can get you the odd goal. So in the next 3 or 4, you can expect a goal or an assist from him at the very least. But obviously at 5.5, that's what you get. You don't get a DCL after all. So if you want a proper Everton asset, go for a DCL or a Richarlison. The other important point is that nobody's talking about James Rodriguez has decided to stay. So if Rafa Benitez does decide to give him game time, Gray's potential in minutes and starting potential might reduce a bit because then the game plan would change according to James Rodriguez because he doesn't track back. So that's something else to monitor as well.
And this was one topic I really wanted to talk about, and I'm glad Mustafa has asked this question, is which 3 to pick from Mount, Greenwood, Jota, and Torres. Now, Man City are another team, we've not spoken about for midfield because with Guardiola's rotation policy, you never know who's going to start. Now, with Mahrez, Sterling starting on the bench for the last 2 games, Ferran Torres showed up last game. So, first to answer his question, as in between Mount, Greenwood, Jota, and Torres, what 3 to pick, and then again just generally what Man City player to pick in midfield?
My preference now that Firmino has been, there's no timeline set to it, and if Firmino is named injured out for like 3 weeks, I think Jota is the guy with the fixtures. Second is Greenwood because I think he'll get guaranteed minutes, and which is a big factor. Now Torres has better stats than Greenwood. Jota has the best stats out of all. He's got 8 shots inside the 7 inside the box. He's got a big chance. He's got an XGI per game of 0.67, which is great. So he has the best stats. So Jota stands out completely, obviously, now that we know he's going to start. Second is Torres, but unfortunately the factor is that he's played 3 games in the international break in 10 days. City have the Leicester game, then they go for the UCL, and 2 days later they have Southampton. I don't see him starting in the next 2 games, to be honest. I see him starting only in 1 game. So he could start the Leicester game, but that would be 4 games in 14 days. And maybe he's rested for Leicester and then he's played in the UCL game. But if that happens, then it's again 2 days before the Southampton game. So it's always going to be a cat and mouse thing where you don't know what Pep is going to do with the fixture congestion coming up. So best not to go Torres. If you want someone, if the ban is lifted, the ban is not yet lifted, I think Jesus is a good option from City. He's been playing good. He's getting minutes. He's playing on the right wing as well. And a safe bet, if you want someone from City who's going to play every game, is Grealish. His output potential, I think, is less in terms of goals because he plays too wide. He's putting in crosses. He'll get the assist, but I think the goals will be limited. So he'll get you points, but again, it's not. And this is the thing with City. You can't bet on which player is going to get you the maximum points throughout, like, let's say a period of 5 games. I think it's the defenders you want to bet. I think Diaz is the safest bet because every week he'll get you 6 points, but with everyone else, you don't know if they'll start, where they'll play, and eventually it's not like Aguero that he'll be involved every game. So sometimes it's Grealish, sometimes Gundogan, sometimes Bernardo Silva. So that's going to be there with City.
And the biggest question on the return of KDB, when do we see that happening?
We see that happen this week, I think. He's back in training. Foden is back in training. He's been training for a week now. So if he's fit, if Pep thinks he's fit to start, he'll start.
And I think with the whole ban, you answered one of our questions if, Raul Jimenez was a good pick.
He's a great differential for sure if the ban is lifted. But if it is not, I think Bamford is the one I would target. So I think we'll touch upon forwards as well. I think Ronaldo, Lukaku, premium. Obviously, you switch between them. To start with, Ronaldo is the better one as of now. Antonio is a must, so you don't touch that position. For the third spot, basically it's DCL if he's fit, which he is. He's trained, so I think I prefer DCL. If not, it's Jimenez and Bamford, which are equally good fixtures. So, personally, I would go Bamford because I've seen Leeds convert the chances. I haven't seen Wolves convert the chances. So yes, they're creating. I really like the system Bruno is playing at Wolves. They're more direct. They're trying to counter. They're trying to create chances, but the conversion is still not there. With Leeds, they're converting. Two more factors that I like at Leeds is Rafinha might play as a number 10 and Dan James on the right, which will also increase the pace of the game. So might do well for Bamford.
Okay, and we have Karan asking us if he can hang on to Danny Ings for the Chelsea and Everton games.
I think you should sell. There's loads of better options than Ings.
Okay, and there's one now from defense, from Anurag, who asks Reguilon or Digne.
That's a tough one. I think Digne, because of the fixtures in the next three, they've Norwich and Burnley look like a clean sheet. Villa is not necessarily a clean sheet potential game, but those two fixtures look like good clean sheet potentials.
And Anshuman, you have sent us, your draft team, which I think while we bring up now again, the biggest question that we have on the chat as well is captaincy. Now in this game week, where do you go as captain? Because you have options.
So if I had Ronaldo, I would go there, even with the slight risk that he might not start. I think even if he comes on as like around 60 minutes mark, which we expect him to, I think he'll do good. He'll still score because it is perfectly a good game for Ronaldo. If you can't go Ronaldo, maybe Bruno to just cover up for Ronaldo. Otherwise, if you have Lukaku or DCL, I think those are the better captains. I wouldn't go Salah captain necessarily this week.
No defender you think is worth playing captain this week?
I never captain defenders unless it's a double game week. You once have thought of captaining Stones or Cancelo in a double game week, but I think midfielders are the guys and attackers are the guys.
Okay. So, I mean, we'll have a look at your team, but, with that comes out, again, now question with Reece James out, is Alonso one to keep?
Chilwell is expected to start across all Chelsea forums, and even I expect him to start. So Alonso, it might be a time to sell him off. You can't keep if you have a backup defender, then you might take a chance that maybe Chilwell is not given the start, but I don't think that would be the case.
Okay, is it worth taking a risk, not taking Salah and doing a double up on Ronaldo and Lukaku? This comes from Parva.
The fixtures are not greatly combined. This week you can, but again, you'll have to spend -4 to get in Salah next week to captain him. Because who will you captain next week? Ronaldo plays West Ham, which is decent. They're not really bad at home, and they'll keep a deep block against United. I think Lukaku has Tottenham, which again have been defensively decent. So and ultimately it's a big game. You don't expect a high score line. So you'll have to again spend transfers to get Salah in. So if you have a bypass route, then okay. But I don't think it's the best time to double up on attackers.
And Saksham asks us if DCL or Bamford.
I think DCL. I think DCL has been posting numbers. Everton have been posting numbers.
And if there's a low budget striker, if you just want to fit in that low budget striker, and I know Emmanuel Dennis in Watford started off well, but then he had a niggle, and so to fit in, of course, we've spoken about plenty of premium players with high budgets. Now, for these low budget strikers, who will give you a goal probably once in 4 games or once in 3 games, and you need them in the team just for budget, who would these be?
So there are 2 names that are very obvious who definitely give you 1 or 2 goals every 3-4 games, which is Armstrong from Southampton. I think he will provide returns. Tuki is another player a lot of people are not talking about. He's 5.9. If you look at Norwich, excellent run of fixtures, and he's on penalties as well. So that's another factor there. And there's another player that I like personally because of the game style Burnley have been playing. So Barnes is another player who's completely off radar for everyone. And I mean, I remember 2 years ago when Barnes was fit, I used to buy him at 5 million, 5.5 million. And Burnley have this record of getting a lot of penalties as well. So they get those 90-minute penalties. They score in the last 10 minutes. And you've seen Barnes do that. So maybe not right away Barnes, but I think Pookie or Armstrong are the ones to get.
And Anshuman, we have your team up on the chat. So you want to take us through it, with your goalkeepers.
So in goal, I've started with, I think, Steele as a backup keeper. It doesn't matter. I didn't bother to change it to Foster because he's injured. I have Backman. Now I have him only because I think that on wildcard, if you are wildcarding, it is a decent punt to take on Watford with the fixtures they have. If you're someone who doesn't want to change your keeper down the line, then I think Raya or Sanchez could be your guy. But I think I'm okay with making one move sometime down the lane when Watford's fixture turn. In defense,
Go ahead.
Okay, in defense, I have Trent, which is a no-brainer according to me. I have Shaw. I've kept in Saiz as well. So a lot of questions about Wolves specifically. I think if you're looking for definite minutes and you're looking for more threat, I think Samedo might be the guy at 4.9 who's going to get you a lot more minutes. At the cheaper price, I think Cody, Marcel are equally good. They're going to play equal minutes. I think Cody maybe more. Marcel might get injured or rotated eventually. But genuine goal threat, which I feel like he's the Tarkowski of Wolves. So you've seen him in all of those corners and set pieces, and he's really, really direct. So I think if you want those odd goals in the next 10 fixtures, I would place my money on Saiz.
Okay, and you also have Shaw and you have Williams.
Shaw, Williams, and Livramento. So I've covered that. I think Shaw, I will switch him off if I was wildcarding to a Rudiger or a Christensen or Reece James in Game Week 7. Williams, Livramento are there only to cover my bench. It might look to a lot of people that I have a weak bench in that wildcard team. But if you look at all my bench players, apart from my keeper, they're all players that will definitely start the game. So even if in a worst case scenario of 3 players out, they are still covering up with 2 points.
And, you spoke about most of your midfield in Greenwood, Alan, Benrahma, and Salah. But you have Sarr in there.
Yeah.
Talk us through that.
So it's kind of a thing that I've done. I mean, I picked Sarr even after speaking so highly about Traore all international break. So I looked into the game. So I have this habit when I'm making my captaincy or making a 50-50 transfer. I look at the games, how teams have played. So Wolves have been doing good against teams who've been pressing high, who've been playing against them, who've been like attacking more. Watford is not that team. Watford know how to defend. They create a good block in a 4-4-2 system. They know how to congest the midfield. They know how to keep a good line in defense. And it's at home. So Watford, I expect them to do the same. And I think Traore's next fixture is against Southampton, one of the next 3 fixtures. So I expect them to do the same as well. They have Brentford in game week 5, which also does defend really well. So I don't see Traore breaking like on a counter against these 3 teams. Hence, I've picked Sarr because ultimately that's the thing. If you're on wildcard, you want a team, you want your player to return immediately. You don't want him to return in the next 5-6 fixtures. You want your wildcard team to actually outperform your past team. So that's why I've picked Sarr. I think he's on pens as well. So Sarr.
And you have a very heavy forward line in DCL, Ronaldo, and Antonio.
Antonio, yeah. That's my favorite forward line for now.
I think that's possibly with captaincy, that's about 40-50 points right there.
Hopefully, let's see if they can score a goal each.
Okay, now I had a couple of questions actually. One was, I've kept Kai Havertz in my team for the longest time. I don't know why, but towards the end of last season, I just felt he started giving the points, and it paid off versus Liverpool. Now, will that continue considering that, Lukaku's in, he'll bring in these midfielders into the game. Pulisic had a good first game, but then out with COVID. But in terms of Mount, Ziyech, Havertz, Pulisic, do they come to an advantage with someone like Lukaku on the pitch?
They do actually. Lukaku, if you and this is a prime comparison between Ronaldo and Lukaku. They're great inside the box. They're similar. They have good heading ability. They have good shots inside the box, good touches. But what changes is that Lukaku has more shot creation action and goal creation action than Ronaldo. So he's not only shooting goals and setting up, he's going to set them up as well for the other players around him. And a lot of people have this misconception that Chelsea have developed into a very defensive team since Tuchel came in. Chelsea had a non-penalty XG per game, which is the amount of non-penalty XG they created per game. So that was before Tuchel, it was 1.2. City have always been around 2.1, 2.3. Since then, at present, over the last 6-7 months, Tuchel has taken from that data from 1.2 to 1.89. So we are creating a lot more chances that people are not seeing. So it's not a defensive setup; it's actually a very good attacking setup as well. Havertz, if you have him personally, I would say hold on to him for the Villa fixture and sell later on, because we don't know how many games will he start. So I think he'll start the Villa game, and I am sure because Pulisic had he limped off the last international game he played on Wednesday, I think. So there's a likely chance that Havertz starts.
And in the middle of all this, we heard a "we." So for those who don't know, Anshuman is a very big Chelsea fan, which is why the "we" came out in the middle of all this. Okay, now I have this question, which is, not wildcard, not players or anything. Now we see these teams of the week, okay, with bizarre triple captains. Like I have seen bizarre triple captains. Now I'm of the notion that these guys, create these teams every week just to hit that jackpot and get, the highest. Now, is that true? Or are there actually such players who are obnoxiously crazy to make the choices they do?
I mean, yes, there are players who make this team every week. If you see most high scoring teams have a chip and a lot of minus negatives, usually minus 40, minus 20. And PL has been doing this season. They're doing a thing where they're deleting a lot teams which are duplicate teams. The same owner has a multiple team, same name and everything like that. So you've seen in the past that there are people who do this for getting the price. Although I remember someone from my chat, actually, he does still come onto the chat when I live stream. We brought in Antonio for the Norwich game. So I was pretty heavy on Antonio scoring a brace against Norwich, and he scored on 4 goals. And he in fact suggested me to triple captain him. And I think, as far as I remember, he did himself triple captain Antonio against Norwich, who scored 26 points. So there are genuine people as well, but there are some people who do it for the price after all.
I mean, that's insane. I've seen people triple captain El Ghazi, which also now he is on penalty duty for Villa, and we have another comment coming up which says Kane as a differential because he is a big match player. So is that a possible transfer?
I mean, it is a good transfer if you want to this week, but only this week. Again, he plays Chelsea, City, Arsenal in the next 2. And personally, I saw the Watford game. Kane looked great, and no denial of that. But Spurs midfield was absent. And by absent, I meant absent. There was, I think, Skip or Højbjerg at half line, and then exactly at the 18-yard box, there's Son. Nobody in between. So they don't look like a team who's going to score a lot of goals. They'll score the odd 1-0, 2-0, which Nuno is famous for. I don't see a 4-0 or a 5-0 that Jose Mourinho did last season.
And Karan Bora asks if Raul supports Chelsea. No, Raul does not support Chelsea. Raul only has Kai Havertz in his team. But Anshuman, final word on captain. People have just joined in. You have one name to take. Just one.
I mean, this is a risky position to stay in. If Ronaldo does get benched, I'm in trouble. But if you have Ronaldo, you have to captain him for that fixture. It doesn't get better than this.
And is there a fixture here for a triple captain potential, or you think it's too early?
It's probably too early. So every week you'll find that fixture. Maybe Aubameyang against Norwich could do absolutely great. He has a good record against them. But again, at best to triple captain in a double game week.
I realized that in all of this, we haven't really spoken about Arsenal, because they're still to score. They've conceded. So, I mean, it's not, I'm not doing this on purpose, guys. I love Carl, but it's just that there's not too much to talk about. In fact, I had Pepe in my team for the longest time, for a couple of game weeks, and I was questioned. I had Ben White, he got COVID. So probably with, Oba coming in our next episode, when we talk about this stuff, we can probably do that. One last question before we let you go, Anshuman, is will Cimac start? And I think I know the answer to that one.
I think he does. And I think that's not the answer you expected.
Really?
I think Robertson has played 4 games in 11 days. there could be a rotation possible there. I think I'll closely, I mean, for everyone who's interested in that, will probably closely look into the press conference of what Klopp says. But there's a very, very high chance that he starts this one.
Wow, that's actually a big one before, we ended, because I was under the impression that it's going to be Robertson like a blind pick.
But again, they have Champions League on Wednesday and they have then Crystal on Saturday, I think, Saturday or Sunday. So he's again 3 games in 7-8 days. It's going to be a lot of load on Robertson, who's just back from a ligament injury. So Cimac is either starting this one or the next one. I think this one is the game.
And I think their group in the Champions League isn't the easiest as well.
Yeah, it's not the easiest, so they'll have to perform.
Well, okay, I come back to... No, wait, you said Ronaldo.
Yeah.
It's fun. I called you a Chelsea fan and you're captaining Ronaldo. This is amazing.
I don't keep emotions in FPL. Not at all.
That's actually something I need to learn how to do, because like somewhere I want to captain, like, maybe a Liverpool player like Salah, of course I do. But then it also hurts that you have Bruno and Salah and then you have to go with Salah. But then, you're like, okay, maybe not. But well, I think that's a good thing, which is why we're asking the questions and you're giving the answers. Anshuman, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for inviting me. I mean, after a long time, at least we're doing a live stream, and hopefully we do it a lot of more times throughout the season.
We'll definitely do it. And, with the international breaks and, we'll have Christmas where there'll be a lot of transfer stuff that will go on. But for those of you who missed it in the start, follow Anshuman on FPL tips __. I got that right?
Yeah, you got that right.
Yes. And also do not forget to follow the All Balls page, like, share, subscribe, stay home and stay safe.
Yeah. And if you like the stream, do hit the like button. It really helps all of us who's streaming and putting efforts. And do mention your captain picks in the comment section. Maybe we'll reply to most of them if they're wrong, or maybe give suggestions if possible. So yeah.
One guy said Aubameyang. So on that note, I'm going to take your leave. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.